Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Karen Newman. This is the Saturday Human Colony Hucolo Webinar. It is Saturday, the 30th of January, 2021. And I have with us a very special guest today. She goes by Guru Maa to her devotees and to people who have just met her, which is us. And but her name is Maharani J. Bhakti Goswamini. Did I say it right? Yes. Yes. So, and she is here. We're going to do a very special event today in Human Colony. What we haven't done, which I'm really excited, and this is something that happens in India all the time. So I'm very happy to have it here, is we're going to do what's called Satsang, which is a beautiful conversation with the Guru. And we'll be able to talk about all kinds of spiritual principles and just spiritual truths. There'll be questions and answers, but first we'll do a little interview with Guru Maa, and then we'll open it up to questions and her sharing with us. So thank you so much for being here. Yeah, so we usually start, Guru Maa, with a blessing before we get started. So if you don't mind, we'll do a blessing first, and then we'll come back to you, if that's okay.
An announcement.
Okay. Who wants to do blessing? Kathy, I think. Yes. Don? Yes. And Angie. Well, all the people in the room. And David can do a blessing too. Keep them, because we're going to be doing a shorter version today. Please keep your blessing to just a short blessing, please. But sweet and effective. Okay. Okay. We'll start with Don. We'll go Don, Kathy, David, Angie. Don, Kathy. Okay, and just go one right after the other, which is fine. Yes? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Karen.
Ashuario shamatario isushumatikajo sotoro doku oshuana emeshiaro aloro tokoshu isutoku matemaroko sharadi ajukosha ipavitako sotoro doku imanoleshe imatiko juata latari doku oshu ilarua medonika shiaro. Namaste.
David?
Hermanatura kishin jarabatura kiasan. Tirmatiro tirkman yaratishin jara. Utirmakatishin ututisha. Peace, love.
Thank you.
Uratiki amnodukura arisukuti nimikro sopora a nichaka muntu yakata. And then I'll just do my quick little announcement.
Okay, thank you.
That today is the White Magic Level 1 class. If you're interested, please email classes@hucolo.org. The class is today, 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. And we have a couple openings left. If you're interested, classes@hucolo.org.
Thank you. All right. All right. So Guru Maa, I'm going to make your picture big so that everyone can see you. So maybe the best thing I would to do, and I ask if you will do this, if you will just introduce yourself and give a little bit of information about your spiritual journey. Even tell us about the tika on your head, what that's meaning, and we're all ears here to listen. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen, for this invitation. Thank you to Max, who introduced us. Good morning for me, and any time that is for all of you. Thank you for being with us. Hare Krishna. I follow the Vaishnava tradition, and in this tradition, the Mahamantra, the glorious sound of the Mahamantra, is known to contain all the mantras, all the sounds, and everything that exists. This is grammar, Sanskrit. I will explain it later. But I just wanted to say this, so you will please allow me to start our meeting simply saying one time the Mahamantra as a summary of all the possible mantras, blessings, and introductions that I would do in a Vaishnava meeting that I will skip now to save time, and because they are all actually contained in the Mahamantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Gurudev. I bow to my Gurudeva and to all the gurus and to all of you.
Thank
In the
you.
Vaishnava tradition, what we follow is the most ancient knowledge from India that comes directly from Lord Vishnu, which is another name for Sri Krishna. Please forgive my silly pronunciation. I was born in Chile. I have traveled extensively and worked in different places. So my accent sometimes is a little bit silly, but I will try to express myself the best possible. So Vaishnavism, with V as victory, follows Krishna. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. These two syllables, Krishna, contain then everything that is represented by what any culture could think of the divine, God, nature, the higher power, the life force, however you call it, however you connect. That is included in this most wonderful name. That's why we use this name, because it includes everything else. And when you follow this tradition, there are so many wonderful steps that you can be taking to get deeper and deeper. But in the general aspects, there is no difference between what someone like me, who has taken the vows of a monk, can practice and what any one of you could be practicing, including, meaning not having to live your own philosophy, your own religion, your own practices, your personal work, and your normal way of life. So the idea of Vaishnavism is not to take out, but to include. And we include then in our life the forms of living of the wise men. That's why it's so beautiful to have satsang. Satsang means this. Sat is the root for wisdom, for truth, more exactly. Sat, truth. And sang is the root for company, specifically the company where you are at the feet. So satsang is to gather, to be in company of the truth. So what we all are doing here is to basically call for this truth to manifest and to guide us. Vaishnavas call for the truth by taking shelter on a spiritual master. And the spiritual master teaches us the knowledge, the books, and every detail that has been non-changed in this tradition that goes as far as to the very origin of creation. In this tradition, we mark our body as a temple, very much in the same way as churches may be marked with a cross at the top or with some other distinctive symbol. We place 12 marks of tilak. Tilak is sacred mud from Vrindavan in India, which is the most sacred place in the Vaishnava tradition, because there Lord Krishna manifested her pastimes, and they are said to be eternally manifesting there. Those who have eyes and spiritual vision, when visiting Vrindavan, can see all these things. So it's something that has been accounted by many people that is possible. So we mark our body with this tilak mark, and the mark, what is here on top, represent a V as victory. That is a V standing for Vishnu, which is another name for Lord Krishna, and is the origin of the name Vaishnavism, which means follower of Vishnu. This represents that God, Krishna, Vishnu, comes and steps on your forehead and leave these marks with the 2 feet that pass by, indicating to you that the way is up towards the divine, towards God, towards prana, towards everything that is above us, because we are definitely in a level that is below. Our level is always the level of the servants of the truth. The truth is above us. Anything that we're practicing is always above. So this indicates that. And since this represents Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, we always offer at the lotus feet a leaf of Srimati Tulsi, sacred plant from India that is always offered in the shrines and in any offering at the lotus feet of Krishna. These are 12 marks that are placed in specific parts of the body to cover the front, the side, and the back as a kavasha, a shelter, a protection. And in each one, you say one name of God as a way to invite God to reside there and protect you. Everything is very deep in Vaishnavism, but also can be made very available to everyone. The marks of tilak can be also made with water. So if you have to go to work and in your work, say that you are a lawyer and you need to go in front of your honor and this will not be allowed, then you just mark it with water, saying the respective names and mantras. There are so many mantras in Vaishnavism, but there is one certainly that is the most important of all, and that is the Maha mantra. As Karen was explaining, Maha means most complete, most perfect, most absolute. I had met many gurus and many traditions before I met Vaishnavism, where I stayed. As a child, at 8 years old, I learned meditation. I learned Reiki. I was instructed as a Reiki master. And naturally, I practiced all forms of white magic. So I learned also the tarot, and I had many gifts that I was obviously born with, and that my family, who was very spiritual and esoteric, encouraged me to practice and to trust that that knowledge was there. I read many books to support all this knowledge, and I learned it from many masters. But finally, when I began learning Vaishnavism, everything opened up and went to the deepest way that has been in my life. So the kind of magic I can practice now, the kind of Reiki I can do now, the spiritual visions, the depth of my meditation, and the healing I practice has no comparison with what I was doing before. This definitely was the deepest step I could take. So if you have any questions, Karen, I will leave it there so we make it more dynamic. What I
Okay.
want to include today in our satsang is a little bit of teaching of meditation with the Mahamantra, reading of a shloka of Bhagavad-gita and explaining what is the Bhagavad-gita, and finally an explanation of what is prasadam, sacred food that is offered, because these are the 3 main meditations that I always include in my satsang and in my darshan. And I consider them the basic ones, and I have followed these from the Vaishnava tradition where they're always present. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So just for everyone who's listening, darshan is the exchange that you have when you are sitting with the guru. Like we're with Guru Maa, so she's giving us darshan now. She's sharing with us, and that's darshan. And prasad is actually usually the gift from the guru after darshan or after a satsang that is usually handed into the hand of the devotee and taken, and it's blessed. And it's symbolic, just like in Catholicism, the blood and the bread of Christ. It's sort of a symbolic thing of taking in the gift and the blessing of the guru in the form sometimes of food, or maybe it's a flower or something like that, just to give people an idea. But I think it would be very beautiful if you would talk about the things that you planned on talking about. And I think that unless someone does have a question. Oh, Sean has a question. Go ahead, Sean, if you have a question. If that's okay, Guru Maa, for a question?
Sure.
Okay,
I don't
Sean?
see you.
Here, I'm going to change the view. Please, Sean, I'm just going to change.
Now I see Sean.
But what I'm going to do is your screen set on gallery on your side, Guru Maa?
Yes, I can see now everyone. Some people did not have their
Okay, so
view, so.
I'll tell you what to do. If you will click on someone whose picture is not on, if you will, and go to the upper right corner, you'll see the 3 dots by their name. Yes?
Yes.
If you right click that, it will say turn off video of people without their video or something like that. Remove, do you see?
Yes.
If you click that, then only people with their cameras on will come in your screen.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, so what's going to happen right now?
It's beautiful that you have your cameras on. I have to have mine on, so it's beautiful.
Well, for the people watching on YouTube right now, they're only going to see you, but I'm going to change the view. I'm going to turn off my camera, so when you're speaking to Sean, it'll just be you and he on the screen.
Perfect, no problem.
Okay.
Any way that works.
Turn my camera off. Sean, you stay where you are. You don't have to do anything. I'm just going to switch it. There. Okay, go ahead, Sean, if you have a question.
All right. So I'm in a yoga teacher training class, and I was just wondering if you had like an opening for a yoga class that like can get people more in the moment, because you know they've been doing their day-to-day life, and their mind may be a little crazy and scattered. So if there was like an opening or something that you could do for like opening a yoga class to kind of get people more grounded and kind of in the present moment. I was just wondering if you had anything like that.
That's a beautiful question. I do teach for YTT 200 and 500 and also further levels. And I can do the whole class, the full certification, or be part of someone else or some other studio certification. And the system I have is that I can start and incorporate my teachings at any point of what the other studio or instructor is doing. So if you contact me personally after our meeting, I'll be most happy to help you. Is something very beautiful to give to the yoga students, the tradition of yoga. As I learned it in India, I became a certified yoga instructor in India. And the Bhagavad-gita and the Yoga Sutras taught from the Bhagavad-gita are an essential aspect of this teaching. Is like the spinal to everything that you are learning. So it would be my pleasure to help you and to also put everything together, asanas, pranayamas, philosophy, and everything else that you may have covered already or that it might be needed to add to the teachings. Thank you so much for your interest.
Yeah, we've been learning about the Bhagavad-gita in class and all the history and everything behind it. But do you have like a mantra to kind of like set the class?
Yes, I do.
Get everybody present.
I do give Bhagavad-gita classes specifically for YTT, for yoga teacher training programs. And since probably the best would be to start already talking from the Bhagavad-gita, I'll say the mantra that is traditionally said to start reading Bhagavad-gita, that helps to connect with the Bhagavad-gita and to place ourselves in the position that we need to do our listening of the Bhagavad-gita. Bhagavad-gita is part of a bigger book, the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is the largest epic poem much larger than the Iliad and the Odyssey. It is said that the whole Mahabharata was said in order to say the Bhagavad-gita in the middle of it. Bhagavad-gita. Gita means song, and Bhagavad means Bhagavan, and it refers to Lord Krishna. So there was this moment in history where we are approaching the times that we are living right now that are in Vedic tradition called Kali Yuga. Yuga is an era, a very big time frame, and the whole time frame is divided in 4 yugas. The last yuga is the one that we're living now. Kali Yuga is the time of ignorance. In the first yuga, Satya Yuga, is the time of wisdom. So basically everyone is a yogi, everyone is a sadhu in the time of wisdom. But as the yugas advance, life starts shortening, each yuga shortens, and this connection with truth also gets further and further until in Kali Yuga, mankind is prompt to ignorance, to war, and to greediness, among other feelings that are not really connected to truth. It has one amazing thing, Kali Yuga, though, that makes it so desirable even for the wisest men and for the wisest living from other superior planets. In other planetary systems, they wish to be born here on Earth during Kali Yuga to be part of this unique aspect of Kali Yuga, which is that in each yuga, Lord Krishna, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, manifests as an avatar. This is something that for some people from the Western world is difficult to understand, but you don't think of these things with your mind. Your mind is always gonna take you into different directions. You receive everything with your heart, where this knowledge resides. So in the same way as the Bible, the Catholic tradition says that we were made in image and resemblance of God, we can think in the Vaishnava tradition that we also resemble the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we say that the Supreme is the absolute, the omnipresent, the all-powerful, and the eternal, the only eternal being, then we cannot limit the eternal, all-powerful, to have less qualities than we may have. So if we have this quality of taking a physical form and having then a human form, for example, we cannot limit just with our mind and say, no, that's impossible. God cannot do that. Because then God will not be able to do something that we are able to do. We would somehow be superior to God in one aspect. So this makes no sense. It is in all scripture that God manifests in different forms. Also in the Bible, God manifests to saints in different forms, even as fire or many, many ways. So we must open up our mind and accept that the Supreme can take a form. And indeed, it is said in scripture that in every yuga, when the spiritual principles that translate to the religious principles are lost, then it manifests in the form of the avatar for that yuga to come, kill the demons, and reinstall the religious, the spiritual principles. Of course, this is a form of the Supreme. So it's not that it comes like a man or a woman that has flesh, bones, veins, blood, and everything that we do. It is a form apparently, and it can even be touched and hugged, but it is the Supreme in a spiritual form that is manifesting here to perform a pastime, a lila. So at the time when the Bhagavad-gita appears, the first time that the Bhagavad-gita was spoken, Krishna was here as avatar, as Krishna, and he was the cousin of Arjuna. Arjuna was the Mahabahu, Maha, Bahu arms. So he was the most perfect warrior. And Arjuna belonged to a family where Krishna was his cousin, where they were all in goodness. They were wise, they were good, they were spiritual, they had all the topmost qualities. But in the same family, a group of relatives, particularly a group of cousins, had already moved towards what is characteristic of Kali Yuga and were very greedy. It used to be in the past that everyone was happy that the king would be the king because the king had as objective that everyone in the kingdom would be happy, healthy, and wealthy. Imagine a president today wanting that. Instead of thinking of their personal well-being, thinking that everyone, with no exception, animals, flowers, everyone, all beings from all different social levels, standards, traditions, families, that everyone would be happy, wealthy, so healthy. This made that everyone was happy when someone had to become a king. But these cousins of Arjuna and Krishna were very greedy and they wanted the kingdom for themselves. And unjustly, they kept it for many times. And finally, when they had to give it up, they did not want. So instead of accepting to give up the kingdom, they called for war. And the good ones that were Arjuna, Krishna, and everyone on their side, being so royal, pardon me, they had no option but to accept the call for war. Because you could not say, no, I'm not going to war. If you were called to war, you had to go to war. So they had to accept this call for war. And it's in the middle of the battlefield, right before the war starts, that Arjuna feels for the first time in his life, he was the most powerful warrior. He feels weak and he feels like he cannot go into war and fight his relatives, and he doesn't understand the point of doing this. So then he surrenders to Krishna and asks for instruction. And in doing so, he recognized Krishna as Krishna, and he recognized that Krishna is not just his cousin, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he asked him to be his guru, to instruct him. So at that moment, Krishna sang to him as a poem, the Bhagavad-gita, as a summary of all the knowledge that we need as human beings. It is said that the Bhagavad-gita is our manual for life. The Bhagavad-gita teaches us how to sleep, how to recover from illness, how to keep healthy, how to eat, and how to understand the psychology, the emotions, and what's going on in every living being and everything around us. So finally, we can deepen our connection with the Supreme. We can practice yoga, union with the divine, and end up in this spiritual bliss and live this level of material existence that bound us. So the Bhagavad-gita usually is misunderstood as a book that relates a war. There is much more in the Bhagavad-gita. First of all, this was a sacred war that was fought in a sacred place. Everyone leaving the body in a sacred place, like Vrindavan, where people go to leave the body, is granted liberation of the soul. So everyone who was going to leave the body in that battle was going to be liberated. And that's the lila, the game of Krishna, that everyone gets liberated because most of them were actually acting the wrong way. His lila is to get this opportunity to give the Bhagavad-gita. And he says at that moment when he tells the Bhagavad-gita to Arjuna, this wisdom was originally at the beginning of creation given, but then was lost, and now I'm giving it back again to you. So first of all, we need to know that we are relating to a wisdom that is for everyone. This is not religion. This is wisdom. This is philosophy. And as a philosophy, it has a connection with a big body of philosophy. The Bhagavad-gita is considered the ABC and the essence. But after you graduate, to say so, from the Bhagavad-gita, then you can go and read the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then you go and read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. These are the basic books of Vaishnavism. Being the Bhagavad-gita, the one that is accessible to everyone and that you can always have with you. So let's start reading from the Bhagavad-gita to make it easier for everyone to embrace this philosophy and the meaning of what we are being told here. So the most common edition in the Western world of Bhagavad-gita is Bhagavad-gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada came to the Western world under the instructions of his guru to give us in the Western world the knowledge of the Vedas, to guide us. He notices that in the Western world at that moment, it was the 60s, the time of the hippies, everyone was seeking, but that they didn't know where to seek. So most of them were seeking on LSD or other wrong places where they were not finding happiness and they were not finding the truth that will lead them to happiness. Remember that the result and the goal of this is to find happiness. That's what the Supreme want for us, to be happy. When you are happy, you connect with the truth. You can establish yoga. You are always in this ananda, in this bliss, in this supreme happiness. So Srila Prabhupada came to the Western world and did so. He did translate all the Vedas to English and later on to all the languages. So anyone that wants to find a Bhagavad-gita can find it in their mother tongue. The Bhagavad-gita, Srila Prabhupada did it. It includes a very deep analysis where you have the way as Sanskrit in Devanagari can be written, then a word-by-word translation of the shloka. These are the original shlokas that Lord Krishna spoke to Arjuna, and then a summary, a purport that gives us not Srila Prabhupada's commentary ideas, but a summary of what all the great Vaishnavas in the disciplic section that I mentioned have said about that one shloka. So it's a very deep analysis. For most people today, because we have advanced in Kali Yuga and we're further and further away from the truth, like even in the education in school, in high school, more and more philosophy, language, and everything that has to do with thinking is taken away. So it's hard for people to connect with this truth. Most people today don't even read. So when we go and talk to them about books, it's already something foreign. I know that is not the case of all of you, but I'm speaking in general. So most people report that this Gita is hard to read for them and that to go through the whole story and learn at the end what happened to Arjuna, does he go to battle or not, what happened at the end of the battle, what happened to Lord Krishna, etc., is difficult. So my beloved Guru, Srila Bhakti Atulananda Acharya Swami, Bhakti Kavya Tulananda Acharya Swami is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said that when we like it too much, a book, we could write it in poetry. So Gurudeva has written many of the traditional books in poetry, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also the Bhagavad-gita. So this is his rendering of the Bhagavad-gita as it is in poetry and in English. And it is given for beginners. So you can encounter the music of the Bhagavad-gita and then later on go to Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad-gita, to Sridhar Maharaj Bhagavad-gita, to Srila Tripurari Swami Bhagavad-gita, and the many Bhagavad-gitas in the Vaishnava tradition. So it will look like this in Gurudeva's edition. You have the shloka in Sanskrit, translated directly into English, but keeping the same form of 4 lines, 4 verses, forming one shloka. That's one verse in Sanskrit. And what is said in English is carefully translated from what is said in Sanskrit. So I'm going to read to you what I consider the best way to start relating to the Bhagavad-gita. That is the most practical knowledge. And that is to understand from chapter 14, the 3 modalities of material nature. If you ask me which one is the most important of all the chapters of Bhagavad-gita, undoubtedly, I would say chapter 12. And I recommend you to start reading Bhagavad-gita with chapter 12. Chapter 12 will basically tell you that devotional service, love, is the essence of your spiritual life, of your knowledge, of your connection with the divine, and of anything that you want to do as a human being to take your life to what is meant to be. Now, to go deeper into this, chapter 14 explains the 3 modalities of material nature. So I will read to you from Bhagavad-gita, a poem for the soul by Srila Bhakti-Kavya Tulananda Acharya Swami. There is this beautiful mantra that is very brief that I will say before starting reading Bhagavad-gita as the tradition does. This mantra means that we bow to the knowledge, meaning I am ignorant, I don't know, but there is knowledge above me and I bow to that knowledge. And ultimately, I recognize that the divine is truth and that from there it descends all the truth, as the Bhagavad-gita descends from Krishna, who first sang it and gave it to us.
You're starting with chapter 14, Guru Maa?
Yes, chapter
Okay,
14. So if anyone has a Gita, it will be chapter 14, shloka number 5. The mantra, you may know it because it's well known, and you may repeat after me, and I will also say it word by word so you can learn it and repeat it.
Okay.
Mantras can be said by anyone, even by me, who has not a gift for singing. When I was in high school, the music teacher skipped me when they needed to take the lesson. I sing that terribly. You will forgive me because the mantras need to be said. The mantras are received in the higher level, and when they reach the higher level, they're perfect. So fortunately, Krishna listens to my mantra in perfect tune, even when I'm torturing you with my terrible singing. So please allow me to say this mantra, and if you can join me and repeat with me or after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
I was in the darkness of ignorances, but my spiritual master illuminated my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Therefore, I humbly bow to him. Jai Gurudev.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful beginning for your yoga class, Sean.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
I'll send you the mantras in Sanskrit if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that singing voice though.
Don't worry. Mantras and all singing are received perfect in the higher world. Just think that God, the divine, the supreme truth, however you name it, however you connect, all names actually are valid, are perfect, and they are all included in this sound Krishna. Sanskrit is like math. So imagine you have like a big equation and then you start like unfolding everything, tune, 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 and at the end you boing, come to a very small number compared to everything that was the whole development. Well, the beginning and the end contain everything that was the process. So this is the same with Sanskrit. In the sounds, in the roots of Sanskrit are included very big names, very big sounds. So it's completely different than our languages, even though most of our languages derive from Sanskrit. So you may be saying just a simple, apparently simple, short sound, but inside that sound, there is so much that to explain it, you could not find a synonym, a one word to express it, but you will need several books. For example, when you say Krishna, it's really wrong to translate it, making it equal to God, because Krishna means a lot more. So you need at least 18 volumes, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, to introduce an explanation of this sound Krishna. But it includes Viracocha, Pachamama, Kokopeli, Allah, Jehovah, Jesus, all possible names for the divine are there inside. Buddha, Durga, anything, all the names are inside. And all the demigods are inside Krishna, and they are also in the body of Krishna. So this sound contains everything. And Krishna is all perfect and is all goodness. So imagine someone that is all goodness will not have this judgment. It will be not judgmental. It would not be like looking at you and saying, yeah, you put the intention on that mantra. I see your heart, but oh boy, you cannot sing at all. God will not say that. God look at your heart, and when you're singing, he hears like Gandharvas, the celestial singers and musicians. So,
That's good.
so feel free and assure that anytime that you are chanting your mantras, it doesn't mind if they are not perfect, like the beautiful way as Karen can sing, but they would be received by the one who sees only goodness in the same way as if they were saying perfectly. So chapter 14 talks about the three modalities of material nature. It is said and explained in Bhagavad-gita that as soon as we encounter material reality, we get in touch with these three modalities of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And that these, for human beings, start at the very instant when the fecundation happens. So when it starts the embryo forming, at that very moment when your life starts, you get in touch with these modalities. So everything is in these modalities, and everything is moving from one modality to the other, because the nature of these three modalities of material nature, this is the reality of material reality, is that they are fighting to be the dominant. So Goodness want to be the one ruling. Passion want to be the one ruling. Ignorance want to be the one ruling. And they fight then. And at one moment, one is at the top, at the other, like the waves of the ocean. And that's how our material life unfolds. When we are pursuing our dharma as human beings, that is called our paradharma. Dharma is your constitution. Everything that exists has a constitution and cannot go against that constitution. For example, the dharma of the honey is to be sweet. It is not that one day the honey is gonna wake up and say, today I want to be salty. Everyone who adds honey to their preparation is gonna be like, ooh, salty. No, the honey is always gonna be sweet. Is the constitution, the dharma of the honey to be sweet. The constitution of human beings is to be yogis, to be transcendentalists, to be spiritual. Because when we do that, we fulfill our paradharma, and then everything is in balance in the reality. So then everyone can fulfill their dharma. But when we don't fulfill that dharma, happens what's going on today. The food is not anymore nutritious. So you get an apple, and the apple does not give you any nutritional value because it has been genetically modified. So it's not an apple anymore, but it has a lot of pesticide and hormones and things that deprive it from the taste, the vitamins, the mineral, the nutrients, and in turn make it cancerogenic and bad for you. Why that happened? Because humans lost contact with their dharma, and instead of fulfilling their dharma of being a spiritualist, they get materialistic to the extreme. And in ignorance and in passion, they go and genetically modify the food to get more gain, more material gain, more money. So they are not happy with what they are making, they want more. That greediness is characteristic of passion. Modifying the food that is already perfect is characteristic of ignorance. So it's not doing the right thing as a human being because it's not worried anymore about being a spiritual person. But if human beings keep their dharma, their paradharma, their supreme dharma, then everything is in place. The water is pure, the sun gives you vitamin D, and you don't risk anything by exposing yourself to the sun as it occurs today. So it's essential to recognize our paradharma. But we also have, of course, as human beings, everyone has a personal dharma. So for someone that could be to be a musician, to be a yoga instructor, to be a farmer, to be a lawyer, to be an artist. That's your personal dharma. But we all share the paradharma, that is to be yogis, to be spiritualists, to practice this bhakti yoga, yoga of love, yoga of devotion in union with God. The Bhagavad-gita is divided in 3 sets of chapters. So it apparently is just one long thing, but once you read it, you notice immediately that the first 6 chapters deal with karma yoga, which includes hatha yoga and everything that we know as yoga of asanas and pranayamas. Then in the middle is bhakti yoga, the most important chapters of the Bhagavad-gita. And then the final chapters deal with jnana yoga, which is the yoga of knowledge. So bhakti yoga is in the middle, protected. All forms of yoga lead to bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is the final goal of all forms of yoga. It doesn't matter if you're practicing Iyengar yoga, if you're practicing hatha yoga, what form of yoga, if you're practicing jnana yoga, if you're practicing any form of yoga, is going to lead to Bhakti Yoga. That's the final goal of yoga. And to be a Bhakti yogi, which is redundant, because to be a yogi is to be a Bhakti yogi, is to practice love, devotion, union. Yoga, as you probably all know, means that. The root for yoga is yug, which means union, and it's union with the divine. But this union doesn't mean that you go like and enter the divine and become one. It means that you reach union with the divine by recognizing, okay, God is God, I'm not God. So therefore, I'm the servant of God. So I'm here to love God. And how do I love God, who is the origin of love and needs nothing? By offering, by devotion. And what do I offer? What I can. You can offer what you're doing every day, or you can get more sophisticated, but all offerings have the same value, are received exactly the same, and they are all considered Bhakti Yoga. That's the essence of chapter 12 that allows us to dive into this chapter 14. So I have chosen from chapter 14 the shloka number 5. So if you have a Bhagavad-gita, just try to follow with me. I'm going to read it in English to make it easier for all of you. So it says in this beautiful Bhagavad-gita poem for the soul by Srila Bhakti-kavya Tulananda Acharya Swami. Jai Gurudev. Goodness, passion, ignorance, these are the gunas created by this world. O Mahabaho, they tie to the body, all of them, the eternal and immutable spiritual soul. So this is essential to understand that we continue attached to the material reality. If you understand reincarnation, you continue reincarnating and reincarnating and reincarnating because you are attached to the material reality. For no other reason. Is your attachment to this material world that keeps you in the material world. That happens in the bigger picture of all your incarnations and reincarnations and reincarnation. And it also happens in the smaller picture here, in this one material existence that you are living right now. Instead of connecting with the divine, instead of having a life full of bliss, abundance, happiness, health, you may be suffering from the material existence. At one moment, having a lot of material means, at other moment, losing it, at other moment, having very good health, then losing your health, at one moment being very happy, then diving into depression. That's the material reality that is bound by the gunas and that bound you to the material world by the gunas. We are saying that the gunas are three: ignorance, passion, goodness. And we are saying that the three of them bound you to this material world. Therefore, goodness itself is not so good. Goodness in the material realm could be, for example, a philosopher, a philanthropist. They are in the modality of goodness. But they are also bound to the material world by the sense of happiness that that gives you. So they don't go further. The philosopher remains in the level of the, for example, Western philosophy or Mayavadi philosophy in the case of the Eastern world, but doesn't go further to dive into the philosophy that takes you to establish this yoga, the philosophy of yoga, which is essentially the Bhagavad-gita. The Bhagavad-gita is the essential book in the philosophy of yoga, and from there you can jump and dive into the deeper books. So if you are only in the realm of philosophy, of material philosophy, you are not gonna get the final goal that is liberating from the material existence and being in union with God, in ananda, in happiness, in eternal bliss. You can achieve that already here in the material world. You don't need to wait until your soul leaves the body and then transcends to the spiritual world. You can already have this here. And for this, again, you do not need to be a monk. You can do it from your very platform as a wife, a spouse, a father, a mother, a son, a daughter, a teacher, a musician, a dancer, a gardener, any profession that you fulfill and anything that you are doing, as long as you are acting in devotion, in love, offering the results of all your actions. So it's very important to understand also that all these gunas, these modalities of the material nature, will finally lead you to a result. So if you cultivate too much passion, you end up in greediness, because then you feel never fulfilled. So with a lot of passion, you can get into business and then more business, and then you become a millionaire. But then you feel like, well, I can do more. So then you become a billionaire. And then you feel, well, actually, I could do more. And then you are a multimillionaire, but you are still not satisfied. You always want to make a bigger, a greater material gain with your business. And that is the passion that you're putting there. But that passion is leading you to greediness. So instead of cultivating a spiritual path, you're cultivating a material path that keeps you bound to the material world. With ignorance, it gets worse because you end up in craziness. People go mad if they cultivate ignorance. And it makes sense. Like in ignorance, you are eating and drinking to start with in an ignorant way. So you don't know what is meant to be for a human being. And you are eating then what is not meant for you and poisons you. It's poison for your blood, for your kidneys, for your heart, for your stomach. And then you have a heart attack, you have cancer, you shorten your life. So you are doing the wrong thing for your physical body. But many times before you get to that level, if you really cultivate too much that ignorance, you end up in craziness. You lose your mental faculties because of the cultivation of ignorance. So it's very important to know these things. And the science of Ayurveda, that is the sister science of yoga, so they are basically one thing, teach you how to eat, what to eat, how to breathe, and how to then have your body in the best possible way to make it the best tool for the practice of your yoga and to reach this goal of happiness, abundance, health. So it's really beautiful and practical. Yes, please, if you have questions, interrupt me.
Is that a general like way to treat the body, or is that does it become more custom to the person?
Very good question. Both, actually. There are the general indications, and then there are the specific one. So when we study all together in satsang or in yoga training class for future teachers, we put the emphasis on the general one, and then on personal meetings, we do the individual. So general rule, this is like 101. Yoga Sutra, first Yoga Sutra, leads you, opens up the way to the first rule for yoga, ahimsa, non-violence. So everything that you do need to be ahimsa, non-violence. Start with your food. Your food must be then vegan, because today is very hard to have a ahimsa vegetarian diet. Most milk is part of the industry of killing the cows, mistreating the cows, killing the calf, putting hormones, contaminating the food. So it also leads to illness. So first of all, ahimsa. In your plate, what you're gonna eat need to be with non-violence. That's the meaning of ahimsa, non-violence. And that's the beginning. And that's a general rule. There are no exceptions to that. Then you continue expanding ahimsa. You say ahimsa for my eyes. So you don't see things that are violent for your eyes, that will be violent for your emotion, but you see beautiful things, sunset, nature, flowers, beautiful art. Ahimsa for your ears. You don't listen to things that are trouble for your soul. You listen to beautiful music, to beautiful mantras, to beautiful words, to beautiful classes, and you also speak in a beautiful way. Therefore, no bad words, because they go and create harm in the air. We also breathe the air, and that's actually the most important source of our nutrition. That's why some yogis fast forever, because we can eat just the prana. Is the most important nourishment. When our food is genetically modified, it has no more prana. So then it gives us really nothing but bad things. So in the prana, that is in the ether, so above the air, it's like the spiritual air that you connect with from a spiritual practice. Practicing yoga, practicing asanas, practicing pranayamas, being in bhakti yoga. Example, you go to India today, you go to Vrindavan, the most sacred place in India and in the whole planet. There was a time when the whole planet was one thing. So we're not saying, oh, India, only India. There was a time when everything was India, basically, in terms of everything was spirituality, but in India is where it has been most preserved. That's why we go to India when we really want to deepen our spirituality, our knowledge of yoga, our mantras, our satsang, when we search for a guru, etc. So this means that you are there today and you may look and see all garbage, all dirty, dust, even the sacred rivers, apart from the sacred Ganga, Ma, the sacred rivers are all contaminated. Even Jamuna, that is the most sacred river that includes all the other rivers, is contaminated. Why? Well, in ignorance, we have contaminated the rivers. So you may look at that with your material eyes and say, this is all contaminated. There is nothing spiritual here. Or you may go chanting, connecting, looking for Krishna, and then with your spiritual eyes, you see Krishna playing with the gopis. You see the spirit of the Yamuna River. You see the demigods. Everything is alive. Everything has a personality, and you see this. And you're looking above. You're not looking at like the garbage there that actually the tourists live and took. It didn't exist before. Plastic didn't exist in India. So instead of connecting with that, you're connecting with above. And when you look up, what do you see? You see Krishna. So it's in your heart. It's in your own capacity to connect with prana, or to connect with the material reality that is gonna make you sick. So yes, there are these general rules that are breathe prana and ahimsa for all your organs, starting with your plate, with what you eat and what you drink. So therefore, you practice what in Vaishnavism is called the four regulative principles that Srila Prabhupada say that is what makes us human and distinguish us from animals, because there are animals that are also vegetarian, but we are more than vegetarian. And this is the last part of my satsang. We offer our food. You offer the food with your heart, just that. You offer it to God. God, who needs nothing, of course, doesn't need to eat, but accepts all love. So if you offer your food with your heart, then the food is accepted and is divinized, is spiritualized. And then when you eat it, you taste that other taste, and that is prasadam. Prasham translates to mercy. And all Vaishnavas offer their food before trying it. So it's not just thanking for your food or praying before you eat. It's before that, you don't try what you're preparing, because the first one to try it is God. You offer it with all your love. You may say a mantra. If you don't know specific mantras to offer, the Maha Mantra is the mantra for everything. You can repeat 3 times the Maha Mantra and it will count for any mantra that you want to say and you don't know, because again, Sanskrit is all contained there. So we could practice saying Maha Mantra now, and that will make all our satsang very complete. And if we have time, I open up to questions, and you can also contact me personally for questions.
Okay.
So knowing that the 3 modalities of material nature are the ones that bound us to material reality, what we want is to cultivate spirituality, a desire for spirituality and a love for spirituality. And this means then understanding that goodness is also not good enough per se, that it needs to be spiritual goodness, transcendental goodness, goodness in devotion, goodness in bhakti. That kind of goodness, yes, is going to take you to the goal of yoga. So we practice by saying the Maha Mantra. The Maha Mantra, Maha means most complete, most perfect, most absolute. So this is the king of all mantras and includes inside, this is grammar again, all the other mantras. The root of all the other mantras is inside. So by saying this mantra, you're also saying all the other mantras, and you don't need to worry about remembering all of them if you are just starting your practice, or if it is hard for you to remember too many mantras. Mantra means man is mind and tra, tool to liberate. So the Maha Mantra is the topmost mantra to liberate your mind, to free your mind. So instead of trying to meditate and make your mind white, empty, or focus on the fire, or on a candle, or on an apple, or on the white, empty wall, you can say the Maha Mantra and your full mind will start filling in with the sacred sound of the Maha Mantra. And then your heart will start opening up to this feeling of love. And that's the goal of human life, to feel this love for everything, for every entity, to love, and to love unconditionally and from the bottom of your heart. Then you establish yoga, then you establish your spiritual practice, then you are connected to the divine and to everyone from any philosophy, religion, or not religion that you are practicing. And of course, then all your spiritual, yogic, psychic, magic powers come to the top. Then you will be impressed at what you can achieve just by thinking of it. So the Maha Mantra can be said just pronouncing it. And at first your mind may go all over. That's natural. But with practice, you will come to a place where you are just one between what you are saying and what you're thinking of. But even if you are not concentrating and your mind goes all over, the power of the mantra is that even like a shadow of the mantra will give you this liberation. So you start getting all the spiritual benefits, even if you don't realize it, even if you are with your mind all over. So the ideal way to chant mantras is to have a japa mala. The best malas are made of Srimati Tulsi, sacred wood from India, and it's available even in Amazon. There are many ways of making malas, but avoid the ones that are plastic if you can. There are many that are made with the stones, with precious stones. Those are good, but again, the best one is one that is made with wood, and from all woods, Srimati Tulsi wood is, or Tulasi, is the best. All japas have 108 beads. They can be big, long, like mine, or they can be shorter, smaller, doesn't matter. It's a personal thing. It's whatever makes you more comfortable. And all the beads are to be grabbed with the right hand. And then you don't use the index finger. This is the mala. And this is the mudra, hand gesture of purification. So you take with 3 fingers, the index doesn't play, and the thumb grabs the bead. So this is a mala, and it will have a bigger one that usually has some kind of tassel or identification. That one you don't touch represents the divine. Yours, Karen, has a beautiful orange tassel. You don't touch that one. You touch the one that is immediately next. To the left or to the right doesn't matter, because we go around and then we go backwards. You don't jump on top of the main bead. So you go all the way one way, and then you go backwards, and then you go forward and then backwards. So is consider one round chanting 108 beads. Anytime you want, we can have a meeting just to chant, just to get deeper into the meditation. The best recommendation is to put your beads on a bipa. A bipa is this special bag that has a big hole where you put your beads inside, and then has a smaller hole where you can take the index out. So when you are all inspired chanting, you don't get confused and touch with the index the other beads. And it also had a way to hang it, so you are not placing it on the floor, on the place where you sit, or having it with you when you eat, where you go to the bathroom. There are no rules and regulations to chant, but these are basic things. This is your most sacred connection, so you will not take it to the bathroom. You will not have it with you while you're eating, and you will not place it on your feet or the feet of anyone else, or on the floor, or on places where you sit. So another good way to do it is to have some place that is your sacred seat, yasasana, for your bipa with your japa, where you just keep it at all times, and then you can put it on top of your desk or anywhere. So to chant, I'm just going to give one demonstration because we don't have time to do a full round, but so you understand how would it be. You start here on the first one, and if you don't have a mala, you can just chant repeating it, or you can learn to count here with the different parts of your fingers, the phalanges. You go like this. Here you say one mantra, and you continue in a way that you go around, and you will make like a heart figure. So you count, and then you do the math, and you know how many you chanted in one hand and how many times you need to do one hand to come to 108. That's another way to chant when you don't have a mala. But there are no rules and regulations to chant, so we can just chant. Krishna came as avatar already in Kali Yuga over 500 years ago. He showed up in Mayapur, India. And this Krishna avatar for Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the golden avatar, comes to give us the Maha Mantra as the sacrifice for these times of ignorance, where we are so far from spirituality. We are given the most sacred mantra, the topmost mantra that was so exclusive in other times, only given to special gurus, now is available to everyone, and is Krishna himself in his avatar form for this yuga that comes and give it to everyone. So we can chant this mantra and benefit from this most incredible mantra. There is a mantra that we say before chanting that protect us from all the offenses we commit. For example, the typical, your mind going, whoop, 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 all over. And you start thinking, Prashadam, She was talking about food too. Oh, but we cannot get the food now that we're in Zoom Satsang. How could we do it? I want prasadam. And your mind is all over, like fixed in the prasadam and not concentrating on the mantra. So no problem. We say this mantra that cleanses us from all the natural offenses that we commit, because the mind is crazy and always is going anywhere. And also is invoking the presence of the divine in its form, in her form that comes in this special yuga when we're given the Maha Mantra. So it's proper because it's linked. And then these are 5 energies. It's called then Pancha Tattva, 5 energy. And this mantra, and I can send it later on to all of you, is, I'll show it there. I don't know if it's backwards though.
We can see, yeah.
Is this one. So we say, Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya.
Jai Ishna Chaitanya.
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda.
Nityananda.
Sri Advaita.
Sri Advaita.
Dada Dada.
Dada Dada.
Srivas.
Srivas.
Adi.
Adi.
Gouda.
Gouda.
Bhakta.
Bhakta.
Brinda.
Brinda.
And then we say all together the Maha Mantra. How much more time do we have, Karen?
We have 10 minutes.
Wonderful. So we will have time to say 3 times the Maha Mantra. Let's go all together with this. This is the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And now we say it all together. That is called a Maha chanting, when we chant all together. So let's go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now you can open your microphone for the last one all together.
Okay. I do it, but we won't be together, just so you know. It will sound a little bit off.
Yes, I know it sounds off, but there is a magic power in the fact that we will be really saying it all together. Okay. Don't worry about the sound. Okay, let's go. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama,
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 Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare.
Gaur Pramanandi,
Hare
Hare Bo, Hare Krishna. Close your microphones, and anyone who has a question, please, I'm here happy to answer, or you may contact me later on personally for your questions.
Okay. David has a question for you, and for everyone who would like to come to Guru Maa, I put in the YouTube description your Facebook page and a link to your website as
Thank
well.
you so much.
And a little bio of you. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Dave.
Hello.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So, I was talking to somebody and they mentioned something about some gifts that I have, and to connect with the Sanskrit, that I'm connected with those, and to like maybe speak them or do something with the Sanskrit and the voice. Can you tell me how about the Sanskrit or connecting with that and speaking it? And I have received Shaktipat. I did go to the ashram many, many years ago with Guru Maa Chidvilasananda. So I'm familiar with Ayurveda and a lot of these little aspects.
Beautiful. So the best way for us to connect today to Sanskrit is through the shlokas of the Bhagavad-gita. So then you can start reading the shlokas that are here given in the form that is possible to write Sanskrit, the Devanagari and the transliteration. And then you can start singing it. That has magic power that connects you to all the Sanskrit. When you connect to Sanskrit in Bhagavad-gita, then you open the door for Sanskrit everywhere. There are many musicians who have sung the whole Bhagavad-gita, so you can find it in Spotify or in different places, sung completely. And also you can find it just the Sanskrit recited. Either way, whatever is easier for you, I'll advise you to read them. Look for this, for Bhagavad-gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada.
Is it, does it matter which copy? Somebody gave me a copy.
Yes, that's why I'm
storage.
recommending this specific copy, because as the name say, this is as it is. So most of the copies that we knew before Srila Prabhupada came to the Western world to fulfill his mission of giving us the Vedas, these former editions, most of them had been adjusted, changed. So the translation is not exactly the same, and many times even the Sanskrit is not exactly the same as the original one. The beauty of the Vaishnava tradition is that it's the same as it was 10,000 years ago, or as far as you could track it. It has been passed down from guru to disciple to disciple to disciple. So then you find today a guru, and that guru had a guru who had a guru who had a guru who had a guru, and the knowledge descended exactly the same. So when you are in this tradition, then you get to the original shlokas in Sanskrit, and those are the ones that have the magic to open up your connection with Sanskrit from past life or from any other mystic ways that is descending to you. The power of magic, the power of mystic is so immense that we really don't even begin to connect with all of it. But this is a very good way to open up to it through the shlokas. So connect with this particular version that is called as it is because of that, because it was not changed. So you will find the shlokas as they were originally in the very beginning. So highly recommend you to look at Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita as it is. If you just remember Bhagavad-gita as it is, that will be the right edition. And you can download it, or you can get it. I can send you one. Write to me if you have any problem finding it. Facebook is the most common and easy for everyone. You can join my Facebook group. That will be the easiest way. But if you prefer to use Instagram, WhatsApp, or any other means, just contact me or email, and I will follow up with you in the way that is easier for all of you to be connecting.
And because we are just really at the bottom of the hour, maybe you can tell people about how your classes that you're teaching, how they can join you online.
Absolutely. So all of my classes are open to everyone. So you will find the post in Facebook. The Facebook group is the easiest way to learn about what I'm doing, or I can give you the contact for my disciple and assistant, Mother Krishna Lila, who is excellent with everything that is technology, social media, and everything. And she can always let you know what is the link or the place where you will find me. I give satsang every week in English and in Spanish. And I give Zoom classes, I give live programs in Facebook and Instagram, and I'm more and more opening up to more and more media as people request the ones that are the favorite for them. So you can find me in all these ways. The best would be probably just to contact me directly. And I probably can write here in the chat quickly. A contact for my disciple and assistant, because she's she's just wonderful with following up, and then you can all have it. What would be best?
Well, you can type. You can just put it in the message, and then here in the Zoom, and then I can also, people, the rest of the people from watching YouTube can come to you via the YouTube or through your website. I think it's best. But if you want to type it there, it's great. I have a little bhajan for you, if
Please.
you'd like to hear. It's from the Bhagavad-gita.
Ask if we could finish this last minute with your bhajan, please.
Okay, this is a bhajan. Bhajan is a song. It's a bhakti song. It's from the Bhagavad-gita, which is verse 9 through 13, and it says, "But the great souls who take shelter in my divine energies know me, Lord Krishna, as the origin of all creation. They engage in my devotion and with their minds fixed exclusively on me." And so this is a little bhajan, and you can sing. There'll be a part where you can sing along, but do it from your and it's in Sanskrit. So Mahatmanastu mampata Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajanti ananya manaso Jatva bhutadim avyayam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mahatmanastu mampata Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajanti ananya manaso Jatva bhutadim avyayam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mahatmanastu mampata Daivim prakritim ashritaha Bhajanti ananya manaso Jatva bhutadim avyayam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, man.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. What a beautiful offering to end our satsang. It was the request of my heart. Thanks for offering even before I asked you.
Thank you for
Thanks
allowing.
for this lovely time. I love you all. Send you my blessings to all of you. I'll keep you in my prayers. And please keep in touch because now you are all in my heart.
Much love to you. Thank you so very much. Namaste and Hare Krishna. And thank you again for coming and sharing your beautiful wisdom with us.
Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you, Karen. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week. We will have Jim back and we will see you then. Hare Krishna, everyone. And please feel free to reach out to Guru Maa and her beautiful teachings. So